So let's take a look at how we can use this in a more practical example. So here's just a simple mezzanine model that I have, and we're going to come in here and add in a switchback stair at this half landing and then run this all the way back up to the top of the mezzanine. So I've created an elevation view here that we can use. And so let's go ahead and activate this command. So from the design drawings, I know the height of the half landing is 4'10½", and I know what my max rise and run values should be. So let's just go ahead and use that to insert the stair. So I'll make the change here, and let's type in the 4'10½", and then I can set up my max rise and run values, and then we can use those to insert the stair. So let's go in here and we'll just pick where our stair should start, and then we just pick the direction that we want the stair to run, and it will insert that for us in the model. And now we can start making modifications. So if I highlight the stair and click on the stringers, then I can come in and I can adjust the profiles to be whatever I want them to be. So if I hit the drop down, it will show me the list of most recently used profiles, or I can click over here to launch the profile catalog. So let's just go ahead and change this to be C12 by 20.7. I can also see here that I have a top step that I don't need, so let's just go ahead and click on the steps and I can remove the top step. And while we're here, let's go ahead and change this from a contour plate to use a custom component. So what I'll do is load in a custom component that also inserts an item so that you can see how both of these options could work. So I'll just choose this item step. That will then load that profile into the model. I can then choose an attribute file here as well. And then if I spin this around, you can see that it's inserted this item shape, giving me a realistic representation of what those treads would look like. If I spin this around the other way, you can see that there are a few additional things that we need to change. So this item is a fixed length. So let's go ahead and adjust the stair width to be the same. So let's go ahead and change this to be 36 inches or 3 feet. And now I also want to remove these brackets that are here in the model if I spin those around. So I'll click on the connection option here, come over to bracket, hit the drop down, and then change those to off. And then I can see that that will update for me in the model. So let's go ahead and take a look at where we're at. So before we add in the landing, let's go ahead and modify these treads. So if I redraw the view here real quick, you can see that the nosing line is flush with the stringer. So let's go ahead and modify that. So I'll just go ahead and click on the stair and the stringer, and then I can modify the nosing line here. I'll just put in a value of 2 inches to pull that back. Now if I redraw, we can more clearly see that that is no longer there and I have a proper nosing line. So now the last thing that we can come in and do to this particular stair is add in the landing. So let's just go ahead and click on this here, and I can see that I need to extend this to frame into that header channel there. So I'll just put in a value here of 4 feet. Then that will extend this all the way over. So I'll just do the same thing over here as well and make those quick modifications in the model. So now that this stair is set up, I need to also create a stair that goes back up the other direction, and I want to use a lot of these same settings. So let's just go ahead and save this away. So let's call this our mez stair, for example. Click on save. And then I can use most of these settings to insert the stair going on up to the top of the mezzanine. So let's go over here and we'll activate the command. But let's use a different layout option here, or a different formula type. So let's put in the length, the height, and the number of treads. So here I have 8'3" as my length. Let's go ahead and change my height to be 5'7", which we know is the top of steel for that mezzanine from the design drawings. And as I hit enter, I can see that my R value is exceeding 7 inches. So if that exceeds the code values, then I can come in here and just simply add in one more step. I'll go ahead and hit enter. And then you can see my T and R values will recalculate. And if that's sufficient, then I can go ahead and insert this stair into the model. So let's go ahead and pick my start point here. And then I can just come over and define the direction that this needs to go. And now I have the stair inserted here. So if I spin this around, we can take a closer look at some of these things that we need to adjust. So for example, up here, if I click on the landing, I can see that that initial value is okay. This will be framing into the HSS member, but this one extends way too far past. So let's just pull that back 1'1", and That way we can then frame into the header beam that's there. If I change my representation, we can see that these two now can frame into each other. So let's go ahead and look at the bottom of the stair here. So I can see that this is where the stair began, but now I need these to be at the same elevation so that I have a smooth, continuous place to walk. So I need to offset the stringers from the tread. So if I come in and click on the landing option, then I can set this value here to be 3 inches, and that will offset those to line up there, as you can see on the left hand side, flush with my first stair. And now what I can do is I can just simply pull these values over so that these dog legs are framing into that header beam as well. So I'll just go ahead and key in the values, and then visually I can make sure that everything looks okay. So now that I have that, I could then, if I want, go ahead and finish the rest of the detailing of the stair by putting in the handrail and the finishing touches at the bottom and the top so everything's framing in correctly. But this is a great way to use the new straight staircase component in a more practical example. So as mentioned, this is available for download on the Tekla Warehouse. As always, we invite you to try it out, send us any feedback that you may have, and we hope you enjoy this new development.